30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is a hot Thursday in Nashville, Tennessee. It's also late August, so it should be. And we welcome all of you to our new digs. Not as new as they were 5 months ago, but nonetheless, our new digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. We are now knee-deep into football season, and we begin each show during football with our daily Titans update with Terry McCormick from Main Street Media. This report brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady. And through the folks at USA Mortgage, that is definitely a possibility. 615-969-4350. Let's bring Terry McCormick into the picture. Terry, it's gotten out that Trey Lance is going to be in the 3-hole at quarterback with the San Francisco 49ers. Is that initiating, in your opinion, any debate internally with the Titans of whether Trey Lance would be a better option than Malik Willis?
I doubt it. I mean, Rand Carthen knows the kid, obviously, and probably had a hand in helping to draft him. But this far into camp and preseason, I think they're probably at least satisfied with the growth that Malik Willis has had throughout this offseason. I would be very shocked if the Titans had any interest whatsoever, because if you're bringing Trey Lance in, you're probably gambling that you're seeing the same things that the 49ers saw when they drafted him, that he could be a future franchise quarterback because he was taken third overall. Well, with this Titans team, they're probably going to end up putting their eggs in the Will Levis basket probably next year. So I just don't see an avenue where Trey Lance would be on the Titans' radar very much.
Okay, obviously we're a day away from the third and final preseason game, and let me say, thank God, these need to go away as quickly as possible. Terry, what is the news out there?
Well, I think everybody's still trying to wait and see whether or not Ryan Tannehill in the first team offense actually suits up and takes any snaps. Now, personally, I don't see any need for that to happen unless you just want to get Tannehill some work behind the first team offensive line, because he didn't get it during the joint practices that were canceled with the Patriots. But to me, 6 or 7 plays or a quarter is not going to make a whole lot of difference for a guy like Ryan Tannehill, who's in his 12th year in the league. Why not go ahead and get a full look at Will Levis and another look at Malik Willis if that's what you feel like you need to do?
Okay, it would make sense for Mac Jones to get more reps. Do you think he's playing tomorrow for the Pats?
Well, that's something that's kind of up in the air too. Apparently, he took a pretty good beating in the Patriots' last preseason game, took several hits, and their offensive line situation is a little bit like the Titans. They're not exactly the electric company running, opening holes for O.J. Simpson back in the early 70s. And
Nice.
So, it's a situation there where, they may not want to put him in harm's way very much either.
Okay, anything else from where you are that you want to share with us?
I do, George. One thing to keep an eye out for, and he's played in the first 2 preseason games, but I'll be surprised if he plays tomorrow night. Chika Okonkwo left practice the other day, and I reported that. Left early. He was flexing his right leg, trying to, shake something out or trying to, deal with something. He finally went in. Then he was not on the practice field yesterday will be interesting to see. If he's not out there tomorrow night, then that's going to be another guy you can add to the list of, okay, here's another weapon. How healthy is he?
Terry, who are options 2 and 3 right now at tight end?
Well, you've got Trayvon Wesco, who's your primary blocking tight end. He's kind of taken over that Jeff Swaim role, if you will. Josh Wiley, the rookie from Cincinnati, would probably be in line to get a lot of snaps. And another guy or two that they would probably take a look at, Alize Mack, then Justin Rigg, who was Will Levis's former University of Kentucky teammate, and then Thomas Odukoya, who is kind of making a push for the roster in a lot of people's eyes. He is a guy that they got an international exemption for last year because he's from the Netherlands and had not really been exposed to a lot of football. But this kid has been ferocious as a blocker. And as you know, George, the Titans can always use an extra blocking tight end because heaven forbid they wouldn't want to open things up and be like the other 31 teams in the league.
So they need to get Chig healthy.
They do.
Yeah, I think we got that. Terry, good work as always. We'll do it again tomorrow. By the way, you'll be on tomorrow at 3. Uno, dos, tres.
See you then.
Terry McCormick, I'll explain why in a minute. His Daily Titans Update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. She wants to be your mortgage lady, and through the folks at USA Mortgage, that is very possible. 615-969-4350. Week number 2 of our Football Friday concept will take place at Overton High School tomorrow. The Bobcats take on Hillsboro. We will broadcast with part of their student body in attendance. Kelly, they specifically asked that you not be there.
Well, that's good because I won't be there.
Yeah.
George, did you have an interview today, Hoss? Is there something that me and Billy need to know?
No, there was a funeral, but thank you for asking.
Okay. Funeral. Okay. Well, you just had to go down that road. You didn't have to tell me that, but
no, that's okay. That's okay. I knew this was going to come up at some point. Billy, how are you today?
I'm good.
Great.
Good. It's a little close there. Let's scoot back a bit.
Get Shorty. He's good today. Sweet.
Get
wow.
Shorty.
Wow.
What's up, Kelly?
How are things going on punching Billy in the throat?
I mean, I haven't seen him. When I've seen him, I mean, that's possibly going to happen.
Uh-huh.
It's just going to happen, George.
Billy, will you file charges?
I'll have to do something.
I mean, I want to know so that we can have our cameras there and perhaps help you with your defense.
All I have to do is bring Boots Donnelly with me.
And what's that going to do?
Yeah, what is that?
Hey, I got some payback for him too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's funny. But George, are we ready for the update?
Do you have an update?
I do.
Okay.
And we start with some tough news.
Does it have meat on the bone?
Yeah, there's a lot of meat on the bone today.
Let's see.
Okay, we'll see.
Philip Fulmer, former Tennessee coach, legend in the state, underwent a procedure today, but apparently he's in good spirits, so continuing to pray for him and his family. So I'm not sure any specifics, but this morning he was in a procedure, so I think he's out, though, and in good spirits. So I wanted to get that out.
Absolutely. We pass on our best wishes to Coach Fulmer.
And also, last night, Tennessee was eliminated from the Little League World Series by California, who has some huge kids. I mean, they had their pitcher on the mound was 6 foot, 170 pounds. I mean, the size difference, I don't know if y'all watched. I watched a little bit of it. The size difference of those kids was crazy.
Yeah, it's like Aaron Judge against the world.
It was unbelievable. So they are done, unfortunately.
They have some future Sasquatches.
I don't know if they don't check. I mean, a lot of those kids.
Birth certificates. Let's go.
I mean, what? I heard a story that there was what country was it? They got caught with kids over the age of 12.
Right.
Oh, there's no doubt.
What country was that, George? You
I don't know, but I mean, when the kid had an AARP card, that was sort of a dead giveaway.
So, yeah, but they got some big kids. Tennessee is done. Also, tough.
Great season, though. make that clear. When you get to that level, you have had a heck of a run.
Well, when you get there once, that's a hell of a year. They got there 3 straight
yeah.
seasons.
Amazing.
Yeah. But last night, tough baseball news for baseball fans everywhere. Angels manager Perry Minasian announced that Shohei Ohtani has a tear in his ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow and will not pitch again this season.
Yes, and we will talk. That'll be the first thing we get to with Danny Evans. Perry Minasian is a former Brave, came off Alex Anthopoulos' staff to take that Angel GM job, and he's got a really tough job. They've got arguably 2 of the best 5 players in the game right now in Shohei and Mike Trout, and they don't win squat.
No.
And both of them are injured. Like what? Yeah, and I know you're going to ask it because that's what I was thinking. But like, what does that do to Shohei's value right now? I mean, because if you take pitching away from him, like what does that do for him? Will it cut it in half? So we'll have to ask Danny that.
Here's just my gut feeling, and certainly that's going to be where we go with Danny at the very beginning. My guess is that there will be this many $100 million for Shohei Ohtani, the hitter.
Right.
Then the pitcher, because this is so up in the air, has got to be incentive-based. If you pitch this many innings, I don't know how they'll do it. I will say this, Kelly, I'm not all that surprised at the news. I watch a lot of baseball, and he's been way more hittable in the last 6 weeks than he was in the first 3 months of the season. I have suspected for a while that something was going on. I am shocked it took them this long, but apparently he wasn't telling them much.
Yeah, I don't know, George. It's but you said this the other day. Like it seems like he wavers towards the end of the season when he plays every game. So it's that's a tough deal. And I think this is his second, Billy. I think this is his second UCL surgery. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think you're right. But it was early in this game. It was a doubleheader yesterday, and he only got 26 pitches in. And watching the game, you wouldn't have thought anything happened. But that's a lot of pitching injuries. You might feel fine, but then a few pitches later, you start to really feel it. So hopefully he's able to. I don't know. He's not going to pitch this year, but he's still going to be able to hit, correct?
That's what they think. My guess is, and I got no proof of this, that he has suspected for a couple of weeks that something wasn't right.
He's felt something. There's no doubt.
Wasn't sure enough to tell him.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he had to be feeling something. He had to know something was up. And I'm sure he's felt it. And, just like every professional athlete, you're not going to tell anybody. You're just not going to do it. You want to play.
Yeah. That's a good question, though, Kelly. How does this affect his appeal in free agency? So, well, I'm sure Danny will have an answer.
I'll take the hitter money.
Yeah,
I will too. 100 million or 200 million. Okay, well, you just get 100 million. Here you go.
There it is. All right, NFL news. Kyle Shanahan announced that the 49ers are rolling with Sam Darnold as the backup. I know you just mentioned this, George. They'll reportedly explore all options with Trey Lance. And John Lynch, the GM, said the most likely option is that he stays here. But there will be offers on the table for Trey Lance. So I don't know. I don't know if he has a few. He obviously doesn't look like he has a future with them. But
well, let me say this. I've never bought into him.
It's crazy.
When I watch him, he's slow to let the football go. He's not particularly accurate. Kelly, it's some of the same stuff Malik Willis is fighting.
Yeah, I think you may be right, George. I don't know, though. I mean, I may think about just giving it a shot. I don't know what they could lose with that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I know that Rand Carthon was obviously with him there in San Francisco. He was a first round pick. So wasn't he a first round pick? Was he a first round pick?
He was a third overall pick.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like I hear Terry talking, and we talked about it yesterday, but I don't know how you could feel comfortable with what you got if you're the Tennessee Titans coaching staff in that position room. you've got too many unknowns, and then Will Levis was hurt last year at the University of Kentucky, and it's kind of carried over into his early rookie season in training camp. And I guess he's going to play. Are they saying he's going to play this week, George? Do we know?
Don't know.
Don't know.
I think they're exactly where they have been the last 2 or 3 years. They hope like hell that Ryan Tannehill stays upright.
I think you're right. I don't know, but for me, I just couldn't go into the season being that uncomfortable at the quarterback position. And I'm sure Malik Willis has made strides. You know, Watson's talked about it a bunch, but it doesn't look like fundamentally he's kind of still at the exact same place he was at. He's got more experience. I mean, a year makes a huge difference from your rookie season to your second year. So that's huge because you're no more starstruck. You don't have big eyes anymore. You go out on the field and you can sense things, you understand things a little bit better. But man, it just I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But I think if you're the Titans, you got to be looking for somebody that maybe come in, and if he can help, he can help. If he can't, it's no skin off our back, you know.
So you're saying they need to take a look at Lance? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I mean, you know, you got to ask. I guess somebody would have to ask Rand Carthon because he was there. He was part of the organization that drafted the guy. So obviously they saw something. But you know, Kyle Shanahan, obviously with him being there and drafting him, it's not. He obviously hasn't seen what he wanted to see.
In the 2 preseason games they've had, he played like crap in the opener. Played considerably better last week against Denver. Looked a lot more sure of himself, but the first go-round was downright ugly.
And what a crazy situation in San Francisco. Their number 3 overall pick, Trey Lance, doesn't work out, but they luck into Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, and he's their guy now. I mean,
he's their guy. I mean, it wasn't even a question. I mean, they didn't you would think that Kyle Shanahan would come on ESPN when Brock Purdy was having all this injury stuff, and they's like, we can't wait to get him back. He's our guy. And I'm like, they're not even thinking about Trey Lance.
Crazy. Back to baseball real quick. Breaking news: Nationals World Series MVP Steven Strasburg has announced his retirement.
Yeah, this is a sad story.
He had
never been healthy.
He had surgery to treat thoracic outlet syndrome and hasn't pitched in a game since 2022. So
I feel bad for that young guy because he had a world of talent and really was never able to completely show it because he was constantly being plagued by injuries. Strasburg, I'm guessing 31, 32 years old.
Yeah, getting up there.
I think he's just tired of fighting it.
Yeah, just like football, we're starting to announce more and more retirements from a lot of these guys, athletes everywhere. But maybe I'm going a little too far there. College football, the ACC. We've heard this for the last few weeks. They are now seriously considering adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU. This week, they're going to meet to discuss the financial models that would come with these teams. But to me, this would be a big nothing burger. I mean, what do Cal, Stanford, and SMU add to the ACC?
Warm bodies.
Money? I mean,
smart guys.
Yeah, GPA.
Highly
GPA. That's right.
The intangibles. You know, I think they're trying to figure out. Okay, right now the pecking order is SEC, Big Ten. And then there's this big line in the sand. At the moment, the Big 12 feels like it's ahead of the ACC. And the Pac-12, and by the way, we should call them right now and see what the secretary says. Pac-2, when are they just going to announce their funeral? We have passed away, and the burial will be, you know, I don't know. I mean, what is going on apparently is that the ACC has told Cal, Stanford, and SMU in particular, yeah, we're open to your being here, but you're not getting squat monetarily for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I heard this morning our boy Doring, who we had on here, and I'll give him credit for this, but he said something that was relevant. I mean, the NCAA and all these people talk about, well, we're in it for the players, we're in it for the kids. Well, when you've got a guy from Stanford going to NC State, they're not really in it for the kid. I mean, going through all these time zones, having to fly 1,100 miles. I mean, their parents have got to get this. Like, really? Like, yeah, they need to quit saying that. That's not like, you're not in it for the kids. You're in it for the money, Hoss. Exactly.
There we go. So we're done with the update?
Yep.
There was some meat on the bone.
Oh, yeah.
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 We've also got the FedEx Cup playoffs underway, so we'll see if we can give a scoreboard update there. And look who has chimed in.
Wow.
Our buddy Jack Gold.
Do you want to read it?
George stepping up his game today. Need this attire every day.
Jack,
Agreed.
go back to school.
Yes, in class.
He's probably in that same room he was in when he was giving us little updates, trying to steal some hot dogs.
Could well be. So after the break, as all of you know, Vanderbilt opens its season on Saturday night against Hawaii, 6:30 over at Vanderbilt Stadium. Earlier today, Billy Derrick caught up with Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. You will hear that interview in its entirety next. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yelly cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. We are back. Vanderbilt opens its season in football Saturday night here at 6:30 against Hawaii. They're about a 17-point favorite. And a year ago in the rematch, well, the first of these two games, they went to Hawaii and absolutely smashed the Rainbows to the tune of 63-10.
Rainbow Warriors.
They didn't play like Rainbow Warriors that night.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, with all of that said, Billy caught up with Clark Lee earlier today, and they talked about Clark's excitement level getting ready for this season.
This weekend, Hawaii heads to Nashville to face the Vanderbilt Commodores. 6:30 kickoff at First Bank Stadium. Coach, you said this is the most excited you've ever been for a fall. Why is that?
Well, it's not just about the work that goes into this fall. It's about year three and just, seeing the evolution of the program to this point. I think so much experience here, both really good experience and painful experience, kind of leads us to this moment where I feel like there's a lot out there for the taking for us. And yet, we got to earn everything we get. And so I'm excited because these guys have earned the chance to play. And I'm just excited to watch them play and also support them through this climb that we'll face on Saturday.
Playing a familiar team, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, very familiar with Timmy Chang and that staff and that scheme. What stood out the most when you threw on the tape this week?
Just improvement, and I think that's to be expected. We got them in his first game, their first game as a staff a year ago, and no different than our first year. I mean, you can see the line of progress through the season. And obviously I know they're excited and feel like they have a team that's ready to do big things this year. So we'll take on the run and shoot. The defense is aggressive. They've upgraded at positions and the personnel is stronger. I know it fits their systems better, and we'll have our work cut out for us. But that's what you love is the competition, and we don't want it to be something that doesn't test us, and we will be tested on Saturday.
You mentioned run and shoot. Who doesn't love to say that phrase? Obviously, I want to ask a little bit deeper on that. Forecast is in the upper 90s. I think you've heard about that as well. Do you prepare differently this week in practice? You're in the heat. You're preparing for the run and shoot. How does that differ maybe between maybe a chillier October game?
Yeah. Well, you have to first of all understand as a coach that we have a great foundation in our training camp. So we've worked really hard over the month to prepare for this game, and so with that in mind, what you don't want to do is drain our energy systems, somehow worrying too much about the weather conditions. What we've tried to do in the last 2 weeks really is get the legs back for the players. So deload a little bit and just the day in, day out work. And then part of that is, a little less exposure to the elements too, just to get their bodies back feeling healthy. This week, we've done a little of both. We've practiced inside and practiced outside because it is important to feel that heat to make sure that you've been in the elements before, we get to game day. 48 hours prior, we'll really start intentionally, our hydration process and recovery process for the game. And I feel good about where we are. So I'm not going to put too much thought into it. These guys are ready to play. And we've been intentional this week about making sure that we're doing both pushing the elements, but also making sure they're feeling really good.
All right, Coach, keys to victory. What is it going to take Saturday night to come out with a win and start year three 1-0?
Well, we have to play well and not to oversimplify it. I mean, I think so much time and energy is put on the opponent, and this is really about us coming out and playing Vanderbilt football. I feel like we were able to do that in game one last year, but if you look at the film, the first 11 minutes of the first quarter, we were kind of asleep, and we then woke up and were able to play up to the standard that we had set at the time. So that we need to be able to start fast. We have to come out and be ready before we begin. they are taxed with the trip this year, not us. And so how do we make playing at home a real advantage for us? And from there, it's, game day is different. I mean, are you paying attention? There's emotions that go on, but are we paying attention to the things that matter? Are we able to communicate so that we can create anticipation on the field, so that we can execute and get to our technique faster than the opponent? Those will be the things that I'm looking for operationally for us to have success, or at least play to the level that we know we're capable of. In the nitty gritty of the X's and O's, I mean, offensively, we got to own our operation. We have to be able to connect on shots down the field. They've shown a propensity to press you and get up in your face, and we need to win on the perimeter if that's the case. Ball security will be huge. This team attacked the ball last year with interceptions for touchdown. That's obviously a formula we always have to hit on, but in game one, those can be huge momentum swings. Defensively, it's all about, we've talked about shots, seams, and shallows. I mean, it's the design shot plays that they want to try to get the ball up and over top behind you. The seam throws that they're really good at in this system of sitting routes down and dead spaces in zone coverage, and then shallow crossers that outrun you and out leverage you. And we'll be paying attention to those things and having to adjust as we kind of really get a feel for what this offense is doing to attack us on Saturday. Those will be the things that we're looking for. And I know it'll be imperfect, but we want to be as close as we can be at this point in the year to playing our brand of football and to our identity.
Coach, I know you're not in the marketing department, but I'd like to ask a little plea for the fans. Obviously, it's going to be hot, but it's a night kickoff. So if there's anybody sitting around thinking why they should come to this game, what would you say?
Well, again, I think every opportunity we have to get on the field, we're putting on display our progress and the trajectory of this program. And I want to field a team here that Nashville connects with, and that means that we're going to play tough, that we're going to play hard, we're going to be aggressive, that we're never going to pull off the gas. Like, we want to be a 4-quarter team. And I'm a sports fan when I'm not coaching, and I enjoy, no matter the sport. I mean, I've watched F1 racing and hockey and you name it, soccer. When I see a team that's playing hard and playing together and playing with heartbeat, I get excited to watch. That's what we're going to do here. I think on top of that, this is an interesting time of transition for this program where, you get to see firsthand the stadium upgrades and what it's going to look like, and create the vision in your mind's eye of, what this will look like over time as we continue to build. That should be exciting. It's a great reason to come out and support. But I hope that everyone's just excited for football to get back going. And no matter the weather, it's college football. I can't beat it.
Notre Dame Navy earlier in the day, and then Vanderbilt Hawaii. So Vanderbilt and Hawaii on the SEC network. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Always good to be with you.
Oh, Billy, always getting that fighting Irish in there.
Notre Dame.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, and he's a Notre Dame guy too. You had to throw it in there.
Uh-huh.
But Kelly,
you had to throw it in there.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get a response from Clark, but he didn't. He didn't even really respond to the Notre Dame reference.
Why don't we do this? Let's go to the break now, and then let's the three of us talk Vandy for about 15 minutes.
And I want to ask Kelly about the run and shoot as well. And I mean, heck, maybe George, some about it.
I'm an absolute veteran of defending it.
Because I don't
get to the quarterback, knock the hell out of him.
I keep hearing it, but I don't really know what it is. So,
well, that's the first thing we'll talk about when we come back. We're going to talk some Vanderbilt football. Stick around. So who said I can't be a golfer? Well, you know what? This is X Golf, located just down the road from the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. This is fun. It'll improve your golf game, and you need to stop in and check it out. 8138 Sawyer Brown Road, and who knows, I may get to 200 before it's all over. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We're back, and we're going to talk a little Vandy football. They're a couple of days away from their season opener against Hawaii. Kelly, Billy wanted a little tutorial on run and shoot. Lay it out there.
Well, I'm not a big run and shoot guy. I know what it consists of, and it's actually a really good concept, but it takes a lot of learning, and I don't know how. It's hard when you don't get many hours with guys in college football. You only get a certain amount of hours for them to do football stuff. So it's just it's kind of reacting to what the defense does. The quarterback and the receivers have to be on the same page. It's 4 wideouts. They run a lot of motion. They're trying to figure out if you're running zone or man. But like, say you're a slot receiver and your defender is head up on you, well, then that presents a problem. Well, if he's inside of you, I can run a quick out. If he's outside of you, I can run a quick slant. So it's just it's kind of adapting to what the defense does to you, and you got to be on the same page with those guys. And I'm not quite sure. I know that I think June Jones used to run this kind of stuff, but obviously when Andre Ware was in Houston, they kind of semi-rolled him, and he would do some crazy stuff. But it has a lot to do with the receivers reading coverage, which sometimes ain't the nicest thing in the world, because some of those guys, some of those guys, elevators always don't go to the top of the building. So if you're not on the same page with those guys and they run something different, you can get yourself messed up, throw picks, throw interceptions. Just things like that. So it's a very complicated system. It's very advantageous. I mean, you can take advantage of stuff if you're on the right page and you know what they're running. Like Coach was talking about seam routes. Well, if you don't have the seam, well, he can hook up. So you've got to know as a quarterback, okay, I've got the seam. Oh, he's not running the seam. He can't beat the guy, so he's hooking up in front of him. So it's just a lot of stuff, a lot of variables that have to come together that you got to be on the same page. And if you're not, you can mess it up really bad.
Let's go to Vandy. The quarterback, to me, is the least of their worries. That's A.J. Swan. I saw enough a year ago. I've bought into him. But Kelly, he's had concussion issues. He had to leave twice a year ago in games because of it. So if you know that going in, are you sort of dialing back certain things he might do?
I don't think you can do that, George. I think you just got to go out and play ball. He's got to kind of protect himself. Obviously, in today's game, it's different than it used to be. But, quarterbacks get protected in the pocket. But when you start running around, which we talked to him the other day, and he said he can do it. He doesn't prefer to do it, which I'm with him with that. I wouldn't prefer to do that either. But I had a bunch of concussions as well, and sometimes that's just part of the deal. I don't think the coaches can change what they do. They know what suits those guys best with the guys that they got out there on the field, and I don't think you can curtail that back just because he's been injured and he's had some concussion issues. Now, you can say as a coach, hey, like if you start running around, you got to protect yourself. Like if it's 4th and 1 and it's the last play of the game and you're running and you're trying to score a touchdown, yeah, you got to go for it. And you get knocked out, hey, once you wake up, you'll be fine because you win the game. But in the first quarter and it's your second series of the game and you try like there's no need. So you have to understand situations of the game, but I don't think you can curtail what they do just because. And I said it yesterday, George. I don't think coaches can coach scared. I don't think you can do that. He's got to go out there. They've got the SEALs guy behind him who's played some, who's a capable backup. So if something does happen to him, he can come in and take over.
And Kelly, real quick here, you're familiar with these, helmets. You had a kid that played in high school. It's called a Vices helmet. And
right.
It's new. He's wearing this year. And apparently it's the safest helmet out there. Now, does this help or not? Who knows? But I think that's something to watch. Does he even have any more issues now? I don't know how much that helps.
Yeah, I tell you, well, those helmets do help. They're some of the most sophisticated, technically sound helmets that they brought out. I don't know much about them because I've just heard things. I know some people that's had them, that's tried them. But I think the one thing that does help with concussions, Billy and George, is wearing a mouthpiece. And a lot of quarterbacks do not like wearing mouthpieces. And I didn't wear a mouthpiece. I would always go to the dentist and get fitted for a mouthpiece. And, you could get them on the bottom, you get them on the top. But guys, you got to be able to bark out the signals. But nowadays they got these things where the technology is so cool that you can talk, you can do anything. It doesn't even sound like you have anything in your mouth. But I know that curtails a lot of the things when you get hit with concussions and things like that, because I started wearing one at the end of my career and I didn't have a problem with it. I know that Kurt Warner, he started wearing one at the end of his career. Troy Aikman didn't wear one, and Troy Aikman, that's eventually why he ended up having to get out of the league, because he had some concussions. And I can remember when we played him in Indianapolis and Jason Garrett had to come in the game. He was asleep on the field. They hit him. I don't remember who it was that hit him, but the helmet can help, but the mouthpiece is big for a quarterback, because if you get hit, for anybody, you get hit and the back of your jaw's clamped together, man, and you don't have anything back there to protect those teeth from clamping down on each other, you're going to get a concussion. So there's things you can do. Obviously, he needs to protect himself as well, but I don't think you can curtail what you're doing offensively just because of that.
Billy, you've watched them a lot. I would contend 2 years ago when Clark Lee inherited the mess he inherited, I've called it a mid-level Ohio Valley Conference roster. I thought it was that bad. I was screaming and yelling for about a year before they got rid of Mason, that Mason had basically given up, that they were not doing the job in recruiting that they needed to be doing. The highlight of Mason's last year was the Sarah Fuller debacle. And to me, a total embarrassment that's what Vanderbilt football was being portrayed for. All of that said, this staff has been a tireless recruiting staff led by Barton Simmons, who I believe is as wired to that business as any human being going. What level athletically do you think they have reached? From where to where have they gone?
Well, last year, they were at the bottom of the totem pole, right? I mean, worst in the conference, and to no surprise. But now, I think they're in that. They're not the worst now, right? They're not, they're not like they're going to hang with a Florida and a South Carolina, and a Kentucky and a Missouri, right? They're with the bottom 5 or 6 teams right now. They're right there with them. But, they're obviously not with Tennessee, Georgia, Bama, LSU right now, but they have narrowed that gap between, just being the worst and obviously the worst and clearly the worst athletically to now, they can go beat a Kentucky. They can beat Missouri. They can beat Florida, who, overall last year, that Florida team, George, we were both there. They had more athletes, but Vanderbilt, and I think this is where the culture comes in, right? Clark has done everything the right way, and it hasn't been easy. He said that. He said he never wants to go back to year one, what it was like year one at Vanderbilt, but you had to go through that, right? And year two to go 5-7. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
There's no question there's some progress to it. And Kelly, I would claim that their record might not be better than it was a year ago, but they might athletically be better.
Well, it's just cool to hear Coach Lee talk about how they've gotten speed, because that's what the game is. It's speed. And I can remember going down there a couple of years ago when they played Georgia, and that was like those guys were scared to death. The DBs, the corners did not want to come up and get in the face of any of those receivers for Georgia. I think they're getting better. I really do. And you talked about Barton Simmons. I mean, he's got a kind of an in with getting kids in, and I think they will be better. And I think the culture that Billy just talked about and Coach just talked about in the interview, he wants kids to play hard. And I think they've got to go out, and they're not going to get the Alabamas or the Tennessees or the kids like that, but they've got to go out and they've got to find diamonds in the rough where maybe a little undersized, but you go and get those kids because they've got the ability and they've got something about them, the desire to go play. And then you get them in the strength room and in the weight room, and you get them on a training table and you put weight on them and you put speed on them. I think that's where they got to go. And I think that's what they're doing right now. And I'm with him. I would much rather see a team that is playing hard every single play. They might not win every game, but if you play hard, I would love to, because I like competitive people and competitive teams, and that's all people want to go see. And if you got that, which I think he's getting there, I think people will start coming out to games.
They have to go, Billy, if you will, if you've got the ability to put their schedule up there.
Can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah, it's they have to be 2-0 at the end of the first two. They have to beat Hawaii. They have to beat Alabama A&M. And then they have to get up at the crack of dawn and go play Wake Forest at 10 in the morning. But all of a sudden, you got a couple of swing games there at Wake, at UNLV, Kentucky here, Missouri here. In that cluster right there, you got to come up with some wins if you're going to be able to show the improvement, in the report card. Would you all buy that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, but you look at that schedule, and I'll let you go in a second, Bill, but you look at that schedule, and I mean, those first 5 games, I mean, they can win those games. So I think they got a shot. I really do. And if they play hard, I think they got the right coach. I've met Clark Lee, man, and I know you guys know him better than I do, but I think he's got that team heading in the right direction. I think they're going to play hard for him. I think they're going to be there for him. My whole deal is this, George, with Vanderbilt, and this is what I say about the transfer portal and all that stuff. This is where this stuff gets tricky to me. Like, if you don't do as good as you think, and you don't start out 2-0, or you start out 1-1, or you start out can you keep those kids' attention to keep going, or here we go, we're just going to throw up our hands with a regular Vanderbilt. We're going to go somewhere else next year. That's the thing that college coaches nowadays have to worry about.
Well, he kept their attention last year, and I'm not just saying that to beat Florida. Florida was a team that the opposite happened, right? That happened, Kelly, with that Florida team. They didn't want to be there. They didn't want to. They gave up. And same with Kentucky at their home stadium. It was like 20 degrees. They didn't want to play. They didn't want to have to get up and play Vandy. But Vandy wanted to play. They wanted to be there, and they won those 2 games. And I'll say this, too. Clark said they've got to play well. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. They have their margins are still very small, right? They've made improvements, but they have to make the plays when they're made available. There's just the margins are still very small.
the first two, the margins are a little wider.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what level Hawaii has improved to, but a year ago they were god awful.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take care of Alabama A&M. Then it becomes much more, okay, kindergarten is over, and now let's get on to, preschool or whatever. Look at that. That Wake Forest game seems to me to be kind of a swing deal.
Big one.
And maybe UNLV is as well. The schedule, as you all can tell, Billy, as you scroll it down, it gets a lot harder at the end. And Kelly, what was weird a year ago, they go to Kentucky and win. They mangled Florida here. And about the time they wanted to celebrate, Tennessee came to town and basically just put a you-know-what in the punch bowl.
As you say, who's your daddy? That's what they showed them last year. I mean, that's kind of, but those first couple of games, and Wake Forest is kind of in a situation where they don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I mean, they I'm sure they've got one by now, but theirs he transferred to Notre Dame.
It's not
trying
hard
to get some
anymore.
Yeah, trying to get some more playing and some more eyes on him. But that's a winnable game. UNLV is obviously a winnable game. You beat Kentucky last year. Missouri is. Billy just talked about it. So, there can be a lot of good wins in there. If they can do it and they can get some confidence, there's some things that they can do early in the season.
I look at that Auburn game right there. Who in the world knows what that Auburn team's going to be? They could be world beaters, and Hugh Freeze could have found his quarterback in Peyton Thorne, but they could also be a team like Florida last year that just sort of loses interest. And, it's year one under Freeze, kind of woe is me. I think that's a chance there to catch Auburn slipping. But yeah, George, that second half, Georgia, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Tennessee, that could do some damage.
Yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see what their crowd looks like Saturday. I wouldn't expect Hawaii to bring 10,000 people. That's a pretty good little travel deal.
But Timmy Chang is a good coach, and I don't know. Do y'all remember everybody says they remember watching him?
Timmy Chang, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. Yes, I just don't remember. Yeah, I remember seeing him a couple of times. I don't remember it much, but
he's an offensive mind, and so Vandy better be careful early on. If Hawaii, if they get up there and put up a couple of touchdowns, it might get a little dangerous.
Well, there are a couple of things to note from the line of scrimmage for Saturday. Vandy better be able, offensive line-wise, to give it to a tailback and push them. The other thing that needs to happen, and it's been a long time since Vanderbilt has had any pass rush out of a front four, as hot as it's going to be, I don't expect if Hawaii throws 60 times in the game, later in the game, that heat will take over and the pass rush will diminish.
Yeah, can you do that for 4 quarters?
Early, it better be there. There better be some heat.
That's where a lot of depth comes in, George. If you have some depth on the defensive line, you can keep guys fresh. But if not, yeah, you're absolutely right. Rushing every time, man, that's tough on a defensive lineman.
Yeah, you're right. Vandy should be able to run the ball and just win this, George.
There's some thoughts on what we're going to see Saturday night. After the break, we'll have Stat of the Day, and then Danny Evans will join us, and we will talk Shohei Ohtani, because there is some new news, and it's not good.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
We're shifting over to a little baseball talk. Danny Evans coming up. We'll try to get some answers from him on Shohei Ohtani and see what his future looks like. But first, stat of the day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. All right, let's see what we've got today. For stat of the day, we are 2 days away from week 0. Which college football team has the record for most victories in a season without a championship?
When you say without a championship, are you saying without a national championship?
Without a national championship, yes.
Okay. So, Kelly, I would assume that is a recent phenomenon with league championships and the sort, and being able to go to Hawaii as an extra game. This is a crapshoot on my end. I'm going to throw the University of Miami out there.
So,
don't ask
Billy,
me why, I don't know.
Yeah. So, which football team has a record for most victories in a season? In one it's one season, right?
One season. Yep.
I'm going to say Central Florida.
Oh, that year they went to the whatever bowl and played Auburn.
Play in the Peach Bowl. So they would have had either 12 or 13 wins.
That ain't going to do it, though, is it?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, there's a trick to this. I'm not even going to ask Danny. This is one I'm going to.
He's shaking his head, I'm sure. Yeah.
He's shaking his head going, not no, but hell no. Okay. Go ahead and show us.
Okay. Y'all are going to kick yourself, but the 2009 Boise State team.
Kellen Moore.
Yep. They went 14-0.
14-0.
And how did they get to 14?
Their conference championship.
Okay. That would get them to
13.
And then they won the Fiesta Bowl.
All of a sudden, the pilot. I feel like Edith Bunker when she finally figures out. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before we bring Danny in here, had a lot of people watching the show during the 2:00 hour. I'm going to ask you for a favor. I want you to go to our YouTube channel, the George Plaster Show YouTube channel, and I want you to subscribe.
Subscribe.
What the hell does that mean?
That means they get notifications whenever we put a video out. We go live. They get notified, and you can it's one click of the button, so they can click it. They're into the show, and then that's it's just smash that subscribe button at the bottom.
That's the favor I'm looking for.
There you go.
Okay, let's bring the man who knows as much baseball as any human being out there. Danny Evans joins us from his palatial mansion. Danny, how are you?
I'm good, George. George, I might have shocked you. I think I would have got that answer correct, only because I spent a lot of time up in Boise a few years ago doing some consulting, and somebody whined me about that one night. And those are the kind of things that linger, but it wasn't a matter of knowledge. It was a matter of listening.
You're not the biggest football fan.
I think you're being very kind right there. Yes, sir.
Oh man, you're missing out on so much.
I know, but I have these Saturdays and Sundays that nobody else seems to have. It's kind of fun.
Okay. I'll grant you that.
And he's got a point. His sport has games every night.
Yes, they do. And most of those nights I'm watching.
So true.
You know exactly where we're going to start with. I want you to put your GM hat on and tell me what the news that the Angels delivered yesterday about Shohei does for his free agency stuff upcoming. But Danny, let me also ask you this. As close as I have watched it, over the last 6 weeks, he has been way more hittable. He just has been.
Mm-hmm.
Suspected something for a while. Do you think they suspected something?
You know, George, I first want to preface it by saying it's not good for the game, and it's not good for sports.
Mm-hmm.
I think this guy's the most fan appeal of a player since Ken Griffey Jr. This guy, you know, there's all those words that we describe. I mean, unique, a unicorn. Fact is, this guy is the most amazing player I've ever seen. And I literally watch every single game he plays just to see him do something new that I didn't think he could do. And as you know, George, I didn't jump on his bandwagon. I saw him when he was an 18-year-old in Japan. So this guy has been kind of a baseball obsession of mine for 11 or 12 years. My phone started to blow up late last night. I was having a bit of a sleepless night, just a funky sleep, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I reached over to the bedside table and I went, oh man, what a bummer. I don't think it's good for the game because this guy is in the prime of his career. He's the most unique player we'll ever see. But George, to your question, I'm going to throw something out there that I've never said anywhere publicly, but he used to throw a lot of splits, split-fingered fastballs, and he threw them a lot, and it was his most unhittable pitch. Big league hitters hit under 100 against him his first few years in North America. And in the last year and a half, he stopped throwing that pitch. Now, I'm not going to speculate because I'm not in the middle of everything there, but there's got to be a reason why he stopped using that pitch and why he went more to a sweeper and leaned on some other pitches. You know, there could have been something there a year and a half ago that it was causing him some pain. That's happened before with players. Whether it was, I don't know. That's the baseball inquisitive side of me. But I will say this, you know, he's still the most dominant hitter in baseball by far. So even with Tommy John, he's still an elite bat who can run the bases, and something no one has probably seen him do on this today, you should see him play the outfield. And the reason he's DHing is to save him a little bit when he's pitching. So this is it's a shame that he got hurt, but at the same time, I look at him and I'm thankful for what we've seen, and I look forward to what we'll see in the future. Because George, Tommy John surgery in today's world, even if it happens to occur again and it's number 2, you know, they're so good at it today that we might just be seeing a hiccup and not the termination of his pitching career.
Danny, this is a morbid question, but here goes.
Yeah.
Does this injury give the Angels a better chance to retain him?
Perhaps, you know, and it's a little early, George, because they're looking for second and third opinions. I will say this. I think they've handled him magnificently over the last few years. They gave him a chance to play both ways. They alternated his schedule. I think their general manager, Perry Manassian, and their manager, Phil Nevin, have done a terrific job interacting with him. It's very obvious he's comfortable there. I don't think it's morbid, George. I think it's reality. Someone even threw at me something today. Would he do a 1-year contract? George, I look at it this way. He's 29 years old, entering free agency, 2 years younger than Aaron Judge was a year ago. Judge got 40 a year for 9 years. This guy's a better athlete, if you imagine that, with Aaron Judge. And baseball contracts can be structured not by performance, but by starts, by innings pitch plateaus. So there are ways of working around this. But I think the Angels have done nothing to hurt themselves. And I think that's a critical component of a negotiation.
I completely agree with you. The Angels have done nothing to hurt themselves here. So, Danny, is it as simple as saying, okay, for the hitting part, $300 million over 10 years? I'm just throwing out some crazy numbers here, so bear with me. And then the pitching part, we then go to more of an incentive-based kind of depending on his health? Or is the market for Ohtani going to be so crazy that they're not going to have to deal with that at all?
First of all, George, we're not even 24 hours removed, so we'll learn a lot more about his physical status. Just consider the character of the player and consider what we have, which is easily the most unique player of our generation, perhaps of all time. And when you know him, I mean, I know him. And I will tell you, his work ethic is extraordinary. It's unmatched. This guy's going to rebound if there's any chance of rebounding. I think it's really important we get through the next few days. We learn more. Obviously, the Angels aren't going to share everything because they still got a month and a half of him. And I think they would be in their best interest to be really smart about managing their information because they've got information that nobody else has. But the key for me, George, is he's already one of the greatest offensive players of his era. He's at the prime of his career. He's showing power that, candidly, I always thought he would show to all fields. So if he doesn't pitch, he's already a phenomenal guy to have in the middle of your lineup. He can play the field. You've got 30 clubs who have the DH now instead of 15 a couple years ago. So I think he's going to have a huge market regardless. And I think what teams will do, at least the creative teams will do, is they'll look at ways of bridging the gap between a one-way and two-way player. And the labor agreement restricts you on performance levels. Like you can't do ERA, wins, but you can do innings pitched. You can do games started. Your idea a couple weeks ago about him closing, he could do relief games or games finished. I just think the creativity element, I think arguably there'll probably be 15, 20 teams interested in at the onset. And I think realistically, it's going to be the teams that you think they're going to be at the end. And I think this is such a unique free agent situation that the creative and talented clubs will be in the middle of this regardless whether he has a second Tommy John or not.
Okay, I want to try this, and this is a little morbid too, but kind of bear with me. I'm getting all the Ohtani stuff out there because unlike you, I had not seen him until he became an Angel. Well, any moron could look at him for a couple of weeks and go, damn, this is some talent. And I did. So I watch him a lot. The news a couple of days ago that you activate Mike Trout, and almost immediately after you activate him, one game in, you have to put him back into the disabled list, what's now called the IL.
Yeah.
Does that have Ohtani at all saying, oh, I don't know about this, because if we're going to be anything, if I'm staying here, I got to have him for us to be what we want to be?
That's a great question. They're just so snake bit. And George, my guess, and just a guess, because I'm not in the middle of the Angels training room. My guess is that Trout came back as quickly as he could, because Trout's an amazing competitor, has some frustration, wanted to give his team the best chance possible of making a run at it. For the same reason you asked that question. Those two combined, hot, they can dominate, and they can dominate for a 6-week period, and they could get themselves back into the race. But when I heard a day ago that he was going to go back on because he had some pain, George, we talked about this when he went down a month and a half, 2 months ago. You know, a hamate bone is a really tough injury, and hands are the most important thing on a hitter. And if he was sensitive, painful, I think it's in his best interest long term to not be playing. But if I'm Ohtani, I know Mike Trout's going to be my teammate. That's one of the reasons why I want to stay with the Angels. In addition, George, that venue he's playing at, I don't think there's a better overall climate. The division he plays in is great because he doesn't have a lot of cold, rainy, cruddy days. They train in Arizona. There's a lot of reasons why the Angels are an attractive club.
Okay, here comes some of my cynicism.
Yeah.
What I don't want to see happen out of this is he signs with the Yankees. I love the Yankees being buried. I love them being unimportant. I love the Braves showing them who daddy is. I don't like the Yankees. I'm never going to like the Yankees. Do you think this comes down to, at this moment, Brian Cashman saying, this is how I'm going to save my job long term. I'm going to go get Ohtani, team him with Aaron Judge, and we'll figure out the rest of it later?
George, he's not alone in that sort of strategy and that sort of thinking. This is a once-in-a-lifetime player who impacts you. If he's healthy, he impacts you as if he's a 26th and 27th player. That's what makes him so unique. He's a dominant hitter and a dominant starter. And, for me, I think everybody who's competitive in the game, who has the wherewithal, George, this is going to be a big number. It's going to be 40 million or more. So when you look at this guy, you've got to look at him as how much he impacts you on and off the field. Just imagine what he does for your off the field revenue, what he does for your competitive balance, for your ratings. There's a lot of reason why this guy is good. Brian's a real shrewd guy, but Brian's not in a very short line in that situation. I think everybody's going to have their pitch. I remember about 5-6 years ago when everybody had their pitch for 45 minutes to really tell him why. And it was so unique, George, because, you'd really never been to most of those cities. You'd never played in those ballparks. This is a very different situation this time. He's played in probably every one of the ballparks, knows the cities. This will be a very different decision-making process because when he was going through this, coming from the fighters to the North American game, he didn't know what he was comparing. Now suddenly he's like the rest of us. He's got friends. He's got favorite places. This is going to be a really unique negotiation. And that's why I think you've got a great point, but there's no way the Yankees are in a short line in that situation.
Danny, how many teams today know that they're not going to be in this, that have privately made the decision, look, it's just past us?
Yeah, and George, I think they're the same teams that never scouted him when he was in Japan. They've got a bias against him for some reason. They just don't like the two-way element. And George, there's old school people who just don't like the two-way player. They won't draft him. They won't sign him. I think those people exist. Shame on them, very candidly. I think, this is a player that comes around so seldom and is such a phenomenal guy to watch that if you're not competing for him, you're one of two things. either you're non-competitive, you don't have payroll to do it, or two, you just have some just weird reason why he wouldn't make a difference on your ball club. When he came over, George, there were about 5 teams that had never scouted him, a couple in particular that blow my mind. But, those same teams aren't going to participate this time because for whatever reason, they just don't like him the way I don't like cauliflower. So, it's a shame. But how do you stand in front of your fan base and tell them we're not going to go after this guy? George, you've been in sports your whole career. How do you make that comment at the end of the year that we're not competing for him? We don't think he's a fit. How can he not be a fit?
You put that pitching screen in front of you and hope that whatever anybody throws gets stopped by that thing.
And I'm sure that's not enough, George. It's just there's no excuse. There's just none for me.
Did I get all the Ohtani questions out there?
George, I think the other one is just the second Tommy John. Dr. Frank Jobe, who engineered the surgery, was a very big confidant of mine. I worked with him closely in Los Angeles before he passed. And Dr. Jobe had concerns about second Tommy John surgeries. Now, that's 15 years ago, and things have changed. But there isn't a real good track record for Tommy John surgeries the second time. I will say this, George, there's a phenomenal book by Jeff Passan called The Arm that walks through Tommy John and arm issues in the game. And it sheds a lot of light as to the entire process and why it'll be so difficult for him to come back. But with his work ethic and his character, I'm not questioning that. I'm just questioning what he'll be like and who he'll be. Nobody knows that. But if anything, George, this guy's been an overachiever his entire professional career. I would never bet against this guy. He's the best player I've ever seen.
Amen. Let's bring Kelly up for a second. Kelly, did I get it all out there? All Ohtani all day?
Yeah, I had all that stuff written down. Here's my whole thing, though. Put your GM hat on, which I always tell you to do. Put your GM hat on. Like, I know you say he's one of the greats already, but don't this come down to the brutality of the game with contracts and things like that? All these guys in the front office are going to hold this against him because there's so many unknowns. And you just said it earlier. We're kind of racing to judgment right here. We really don't know how significant the injury is until all this stuff comes out. But that's kind of the brutality of the deal. They're going to hold it against him. They're not going to give him probably what he's worth.
Kelly, everybody's got a shelf life. The problem is we don't know what it is. Who would have known that Tom Brady would have become the player he was and played till his mid-40s? I remember when Tom Brady was a 4th-string quarterback in Michigan. Nobody knows. And the brutality of the sport is actually one of the reasons why the sport is so combustible at times. Because for pitchers, they almost all go down. Almost everybody has an arm issue. Think of all the great pitchers that we know in today's game. They've all had hiccups in their career. More than half the players in the big leagues that are pitchers have been released or traded. There's a reason. It's a cyclical, ugly situation times for pitchers. But here's the real problem. This guy is so unique that if you like him as a hitter, you'll play on him as a hitter and hope you get him as a pitcher. Will he get what he was going to get? Kelly, I don't know, and I think it's too early to speculate that because we don't know the extent of the injury. We don't know on August 24th what the prognosis is October 1st when everybody has to start making decisions. There's one team that can decide right now, and that's the Angels. Everybody else is hoping for him to get into the portal. Is it ugly? Is it difficult? Oh, hell yeah, it's difficult. But when you're in that seat, when you're a GM, Kelly, you're always weighing the risk reward. No matter what you're doing, guys are going to go down. Some of your core players suddenly might not be around. Everybody knows that. Nobody feels sorry for you because you're all playing the same game.
Okay, but isn't that the thing about it, though, Danny, is his uniqueness? Like, if you take that away from him, then of course, I know he's unique as a hitter, he's unique as an athlete, but like the uniqueness of him being a pitcher and then being able to do all the other stuff, doesn't that take a little bit away from that?
It could, Kelly, if you get the results and you find out that it's a tenuous situation, but we don't know that right now. And if I've learned anything in the last 4 decades in this game, jumping to conclusions just makes you first in line for being wrong sometimes. I'd rather have the information. Nobody can make a decision on him right now but the Angels, Kelly. That's it. No one else has that opportunity. So let's just be patient. Let's see where we are. Once you're able, if he becomes a free agent, everybody's going to be able to take a look at the medical records. They'll play at that time as to what's going on, and their team doctors will be involved. But here's the issue, Kelly. I don't remember ever a two-way guy ever being in this situation as a free agent. And now he's not a two-way guy. He's the best offensive player in baseball. So right away you look at him and you say, hey, if he doesn't pitch for the next 10 years, I still got one of the greatest bats, an athlete that'll age well, and I can put him in the outfield. That's not a bad alternative. I would be playing hard on a guy like that.
Kelly, hang with me. We're going to go to the break. If you've got more Ohtani, feel free to go at it. Depending on where else you want to go, we'll do that after the break. More with Danny Evans. Please stick around. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen printed t-shirts, laser engraved Yelly cups, and knives. Recognize your hardworking team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, we are back. Danny Evans has done a brilliant job in his first segment of going through all the Shohei Ohtani possibilities. As a lot of you know, the LA Angels last night announced that his pitching for this year is over. It looks like it's headed toward a second Tommy John, but we don't know that for sure. Either way, Danny was brilliant in the stuff he had to say. Kelly, you have the floor. Fire away.
I got two more questions for you, Mr. Evans.
Mr.
Talking
Evans.
about,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, total respect, man. Total respect. Unbelievable.
Don't worry about the lunch bet then, Kelly. We're good. All right, no problem.
Well, we talked about it earlier in the show when you weren't on, but you've talked about arm problems. Steven Strasburg announced his retirement. I can remember when he came into the league and he had so much hype. But it seems like he just could not get over the injury bug with whatever's going on with him. So his career was kind of, I mean, I think, didn't he win an MVP with the team, with the Nats? He brought him I don't remember what year it was, but in the World Series. So good career, bad career, just kind of an up and down career. Give us your thoughts.
Boy, I saw him in college, Kelly, and I couldn't believe. Oh my God, he was so good. And I was an agent, so I was trying to get him as a client. Some guys, Kelly, and you played with guys like this, they just can't stay healthy. And it's not that they're not trying. It's not that they don't want to play. Their bodies just don't agree. And, you know, a trainer once said to me, we were on the streets of New York walking to lunch, and he said, if you ever wonder why guys just can't play as long as others, look at the people in front of us that are having trouble, you know, walking the streets of New York and are really limping, hobbling, struggling. Some of us are lucky and we're okay and we're able to play. And just think about the guys who are so durable that for some reason they're able to post. Others, Kelly, can't do it. Baseball is unfair on pitchers. It's not a natural throwing motion. Guys get hurt. And the shelf life is such that, I mean, Kelly, you're one pitch away from not being a pitcher. So the problem is the reality check in the game is such that someone like Strasburg, who is a meteorite, I mean, was just stunningly good, didn't have sustainability. It's no fault of his. It's just the way the game is sometimes. And, you know, it's one thing when a guy gets hit with a pitch like Canigliaro or, you know, breaks his leg and is never the same. But it's another thing when a pitcher's arm just goes. And, you know, I think about Eric Gagne, who I had in his prime with the Dodgers, and suddenly he wasn't the same. I think we should appreciate the guys who stay healthy and continue to perform, but I don't think we should ever criticize those who can't, because it's not a lack of want. It's just the body balking, and the body always wins. That's the equation that I learned from the best trainer I ever worked with. don't ever think that the body's not going to win.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing to see like a guy like Nolan Ryan who can pitch as well as he did for so long. And I had 2 shoulder surgeries myself with I had a torn labrum and then a rotator cuff. So it's going to catch up to you at some time. But I just he had so much hype coming out. And then it just felt like, man, he just could never get. And I told people this before. There was a defensive lineman that I played with in Cleveland, Courtney Brown. He was the first pick of the draft from Penn State, but he was always hurt. But man, he took off his shirt. He looked like Adonis. He can run, but I think his muscles were too big. It pulled his tendons away. Like he had all kind of injuries. I just think he was too strong. His muscles were too strong for his structural build. It's amazing. And you hit it. You hit it right on the head. Some people are lucky. Some people aren't.
And I think it's really a matter of luck. When you're growing up, Kelly, all of the past comes back to haunt you. Abuse as a little leaguer, as a high schooler. But also it's just a roulette wheel. I mean, how many teams right now, well, actually, I'll just answer the question. There's I think 2 teams that have used 7 starters all year. And there's a reason. Just about everybody has a ding, has a breakdown. Some are more than others. The shame on Strasburg is we saw him great. And we saw him in that World Series run with the Nationals. He was dominant. He was the MVP of the postseason. But since 22, I think he hasn't even pitched. And the shame of it is no one would have debated that signing when he signed. But now in hindsight, what do we all say? Oh, wow, that really handicapped the Nationals. No one blamed the Nationals at the time.
So this is my last one. Houston Astros have kind of run roughshod over the American League West. So they're catching up. They're right there. Who's going to win it? Texas or them?
Or Seattle, Kelly. Seattle is a game and a half behind, and they're the hottest team in baseball right now. I never thought I would say this, but I think there's going to be 3 teams from the AL West in the postseason. I think Seattle's getting in. I think Houston and Texas, are going to have an extraordinary fight these last 6 weeks. I'm a real big believer in the Mariners. They just get it. They have a great competitive streak. I don't know who's going to win between Texas, Houston, and Seattle, but I think all 3 teams are going to get in. And I think the balance of power has suddenly shifted in the last 3 or 4 months from the AL East to now the AL West.
Wow.
I'll put it this way, Kelly. Nobody wants to play the Mariners.
Oh, no, not at all.
You're making people money with the Mariners, are you not, George?
I have been.
Well, and I think they and Milwaukee are the 2 clubs you do not want to play in the postseason.
Wow.
Good stuff. Let's see. We did an entire 2 segments with Danny Evans.
I wrote half a book on everything Danny said about Ohtani, so really? I'll release that soon.
But what didn't happen during those 2 segments, Billy?
It didn't.
It did not.
The Boston Braves and Milwaukee Braves franchise were never discussed.
Nor was the other one, the Big A.
Big A.
Miracle.
And George, whatever you told Ozuna, well done.
Woo.
And I know Kyle Wright is on a rehab assignment soon, so the sun might be shining a little brighter on that rotation.
Yeah. So, okay, since you brought it up, what's realistic to expect with Kyle Wright? What would you, if he shows health in these rehab assignments, how would you use him when you put him on the active roster and maybe the playoff roster?
Yeah, well, one thing we don't know is we don't know from a medical standpoint what he's willing to bear or what his body can handle. So that's number one. But we have an advantage now, George. As you know, I think, the minor league schedules have been extended. Now they play deep into September. So you can do a rehab work with him through the 3rd, 4th week of September, which you could never do in the past. He's going to, in the past, he'd be an extended spring or in the instructional league, and that's not competitive. If Kyle Wright's healthy, Kyle Wright's got a great arm. Kyle Wright's got postseason experience, and there's something to be said for that. When your goal is to win a world championship, you want to put your best guys out there. Worst case scenario, he can probably relieve for you. He can probably be a long guy for you. I don't know his role in a short series, but if you get into deeper series, boy, I'd love to have a guy like that on my club, regardless of the role. But it all comes down to what his body is able to bear.
You are the best. I hope that Nick Hunter would approve of these segments.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Kelly. Great questions. And, I'm just going to say one thing. It's a shame that we're not getting to see Trout and Ohtani in the postseason because it'd be great for the game. The game thrives. I mean, imagine not seeing LeBron or Curry or, some of the great players like McDavid in the postseason. That's where their history and their legends are made. And for them not to be able to get into that environment, it's bad for all of us. We're the losers in the whole thing.
You're exactly right. Have a good weekend. We'll talk next week.
Same to you guys. Bye, guys.
See ya.
After the break, Kelly absolutely hit it. Dead on. I'm trying to win you money. And Kelly, if you look at the record, and by the way, I got ripped last night, the damn Red Sox.
You did.
But tonight we shift to the National Football League.
We do. And what do you think that means, Billy? Because I know what you think it means. I want you to say it.
A big fat L.
Excuse me?
A loss.
Wow.
Agreed.
Excuse me?
Agreed.
Wow.
You got stuff to prove,
With
George.
teammates like this, who needs enemies? I'll make you money. To hell with them right after this.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between. Discover what Hit City has to offer. Single game tickets are on sale now.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Final segment on a Thursday. A couple of NFL preseason games tonight. We'll see where George goes with his bet of the day, and it is brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Best in the business. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to their website. That's bartdurham.com. All right, Kelly, let's check out what happened last night, and it was a big gag by the Astros.
Ugh.
Lost in extra innings to Boston.
They were up 4-2 and took the gas. Very bitter.
Choked it.
Good.
Excuse me?
I said good.
Oh,
You're doing
that's
pretty
right.
well, though, George. You're doing really well.
Kelly, it's all part of gifts to the people.
Oh, is that right? Is that your gift?
Absolutely.
Your gift in life is a gift to the people to making them
Well, I
money. Is
mean-
that the correct?
Well, I mean, look at that record. You can go to town and make some money on that.
It's pretty good. I agree.
Yeah. We're going to add to it tonight. Here is where we are going.
Okay.
Falcon Fever. Catch it.
Haven't heard that one in a while.
Well, the way it used to go was Falcon Fever, catch it, and take the Braves with you. Those were not the best of times. Falcons are home. Pittsburgh, I would assume, will play Kenny Pickett some. I would assume Atlanta will play Desmond Ridder a little more. Kelly, what do you think of Ridder?
I don't know. Hadn't seen enough of him yet. In this league, George, you have to be consistent. You got to be consistent. And this is his first year being the guy. So it'll be interesting to see how a younger guy is the guy coming from a smaller school. And, hey, I'm for him. I want him to do well, obviously. But I think the litmus test is still out there. You still got to see what he does. That's the one thing. You have to be consistent each week in this league. And sometimes you're going to play bad. How does he handle that? It's just the way it is. And I don't know how good the Atlanta Falcons are, but we'll see. But, that bet right there, like it's a third preseason game, like, who cares?
You got to do something. I mean,
You got to do something. I understand that. I get
something
it.
out there for the public.
I get it.
Falcon Fever. Catch it.
Hey, one other thing you can put. I mean, do I still have to live in Watson shadow or what?
Let me
I'm
just
gonna keep bringing this up. I mean, we're going to be off the air, and I'm never going to get any notoriety or anything from this.
Given that you know how much workload there has been on the director, this is such a cheap shot.
I know, but like do I need to give Billy like $100? Do I need to give him a C note to get this done for me? I mean, can we just put like a little phony picture of me up there? I mean, is there any way? Like, I feel like I'm still in the shadow of Watson, and he's no longer like he's coming on. We still get to listen to Watson, but like,
no, don't you try to bury him. Okay,
I'm not burying him at all. I'm just telling you. I mean,
he helped birth this show, much as he helped birth UAB football.
He's not on it anymore. He's on it one segment a week.
Well, that's one more than he needs to be.
I mean, can I at least get in the opening? Like this is kind of false advertising from you. Let's be honest.
False advertising.
We'll work on it.
Billy, whatever, dude.
Whew. Okay.
I'm over Billy too. Get Shorty. I'm over him. I'm going to have to give him a little bit of money so he can stay extra, like 10 minutes extra, and throw a picture of me on there or something. Good gracious.
We can make that happen.
Good Lord.
I mean, what are we doing?
We're trying to lure people to watch, not the other way around.
Exactly. We're going to lure them to watch. That's right.
Okay. We have program notes. Program note number 1. What's your name? Kelly. Kelly will not be here tomorrow. Yeah. Our show will originate tomorrow from Overton High School as part of Football Friday. Here is a little program note. We're going to start the show tomorrow at 2:05, not 2 o'clock. Why? because we want to get the Overton student body into the arena where they can make noise, have fun, the band will play, all of those things. Those are important things in Football Friday. We will have a tail of the tape tomorrow of tomorrow night's Titans-Patriots game. And I'll make the request one more time. As we leave the air today, a lot of you have watched this show. Do us the favor, go to the George Plaster Show on YouTube and subscribe. What the hell does that mean?
You just got to search our channel, go to YouTube, and click subscribe. That's all you got to do. We are 300 subscribers away from 1,000. We'll see if we can.
No,
get
we're
there.
not.
Oh,
no, we are not.
Okay, we are at 8.
What
we're
kind of addition?
We're at 870. That's awful. We are 30 away. My bad.
No, we're 130.
Like, where did you go to school, Billy? I mean, pick it up, dude.
That was embarrassing.
Do they teach you math at any of these places?
I mean, what are we doing?
Good Lord.
Awful way to end it. I don't know if I'm going to be showing up.
Well, here's another thing that we're going to end it with. George was really working hard yesterday because I called George. He answered the phone. He just hit a good drive. It went 125 yards. I can hit a sandwich that far, George.
We're out of here.
See ya.
You're out of here until Monday. Clean up your attitude. See all of you tomorrow at 2:05. 2:05. 2:05. No Kelly. Should be a huge audience.